Welcome everyone to day 4 spiritual awakening of the Spiritpreneurship Summit. I am super excited about today because there are just some great insight from these wonderful speakers that I'm going to introduce shortly. But first I want to talk about the past few days, especially yesterday, what happened, what we discussed, and how that leads into today's conversation. So first we talked about, well, we didn't really talk about psychology per se, but we talked about the mind and behaviors. We talked about different aspects on how we deal with life, how we see life, and how we see struggles at times, how we, when we conversate and have communication with other people, and the struggles of our personal how you say boundaries. And so how this relates to today, the spiritual awakenings, is because these two speakers, Matt Ludmer and Jeff Carrera, have found spiritual awakening very early in their lives. They've been very spiritual from early age, and it's just wonderful to see their conversations. It's been my pleasure to have this honor of them joining me on the summit and take this time out of their days to talk to me about their journeys. And I watched them both, and what really came through is, and why it's so important to be day 4 and after those 3 days that we had so far, is that it's about us. As us as an individual, we want to see how we can come through and really live the life that we're looking for, the way we want to be seen, but mostly how we want to be seen. We should be able to tap into our deepest desires by acknowledging that not everything is easy and that life is not perfect. Both Matt Ludmer and Jeff Carrera touch on financials, talk about how our traditional paths lead us to make a living and that money is important to us. But if we look closer, money doesn't make us happy. And you might have noticed this yourself, that just because you have more, you might can do more, you might be able to experience more, as like travels. Well, that was before COVID, but now it's maybe a little different kind of travels. But anyway, so money. And so, yes, we need a financial security because that's how our society is structured. There is no free living out there. So, yes, finances are important. But what comes through these conversations with Matt and Jeff is that if we do what we love, if we can find laughter, if we can find the true calling and the meaning of life for us as an individual, then the money will just be a wonderful add-on to make it more wonderful. And what I come to see is that is so true, because when I stepped back from having a monthly income and really do what I love doing, which is giving mindfulness knowledge to other people, to have our daily stresses be acknowledged and finding tools to cope with them, it has opened up my personal life to many more opportunities of joy and being present. I have a family, I have one son and a husband, and the way I can perceive our experience together has come to a much more enjoyment because it's the moments we spend together. Not to say that we don't have any moments of conflict, as I would call it, but it's something where you understand, okay, there's a conflict, but then again, you got to remind yourself, what is this conflict about? There is always a deeper meaning or reason why something doesn't feel in touch with each other, and that we differentiate. I mean, I just learned this week about human design, which opened my eyes even more how different we all are, and that there are so many roles that play a part in our lives. And by watching these videos of Matt Lutmer and Jeff Carrera today, they just give you a whole idea, especially in Matt's conversation. We're talking about ikigai, which is a Japanese way of living. And ikigai is made of 4 different compartments, or compartment sounds weird, but like circles in life. And one of them is to do what you love doing. And that could be anything. Like there is no meaning to like it has to be something professionally related. It can be also something that you enjoy in life. Then there is the other circle of talent, the where are you good at what you like doing? You know, because if we end up wanting to do something that fills us in life, then it has to be something we're good at too, because otherwise it becomes very, very hard. The third one he mentions is about what does the world need, right? I mean, the world doesn't have to be the entire world. It can also be our little world that we're living in, but what do they need? And then how can I be of service for that? And the last one is how can I make money with all of these together? So maybe you have a job that you partially enjoy, but then you have these struggles every day that you just can't get over, but you love your children and you just can't seem to find that pattern on how to bring this all together. And so it's for you, I mean, it's for everybody very different. I'm just making an example here and I'm using myself a little bit as a background information as well. And so what it is to just see yourself as a canvas, a way of adjusting and putting new colors on and forms that make a new picture. We actually, Matt and I talk about painting a picture, and it doesn't have to be that picture that you look at in a gallery. Well, actually it could be, but if you look at it as just a painting in your heart, in your inside, it's just by getting an idea how you create your own life. And so in a way, it's to embrace everything you have. And yes, we're talking about talents in one part, but we also need to embrace our weaknesses and strengths. We need to find out where our strengths are. And so today I really see this day and these conversations to be the shift. The previous days were learning tools. Like for instance, we talked to Cindy Olsen yesterday live, and about her knowledge in nature and how it correlates with us humans. And if we get connected more with nature, we get more answers on how to do things in life, and to maybe just step back and relax, and to not see everything so serious. And it really is that we only have this one life to live. I know I talked about it yesterday a little bit, but it also comes up with Jeff. Jeff also says that you have to do what you love to do. And we're touching on the last day of your life, in a way to look at your last day of your life and how would you want that to look like? How would you want to feel like that at that day? Do you want to feel regret not having done what you wanted to do? Or do you want to feel complete, content, fulfilled with what you have done till this point? So by asking this question, again, we don't know when that's going to happen. So we hope it's going to be another 20, 30, 40 years from now, right? And if you are 20 years old, hopefully 60, 70 years from now. But I think we should look into it as part of an opportunity. There's only so much time we have in a day. We might have 24 hours. Out of those 24 hours, we're probably sleeping, let's say 8 hours, right? Like, okay, that's generous because most of us probably won't get these 8 hours of sleep, but let's be generous. These 8 hours of sleep. So we have 16 hours left of the day. If you have a full-time job, you'll probably be working, let's be generous here too, 6 hours a day. like literally working, not doing errands in between, or having a phone call here and there, or having lunch, or take a break in between. So we are left with 10 hours a day. Out of those 10 hours, there's maybe 2 hours that we're doing whatever we're doing. So there is not much time in a day to really spend on things that we really enjoy. So, I mean, that we really enjoy, I'm saying, sorry. And so what it is to just ask yourself, if I only had these 24 hours to live, what would I want to spend my 6 hours left in the day to really do what I love doing? Do I want it to try to make something perfect? Do I want to make something with high expectations and like try to excel to the highest level? Or do I want to just take a step back and take a few times a day to just enjoy certain moments in my day and say like, all right, I got a bunch of dishes to do, but you know what? I'll wait with them and do them at some later point. Not to say you have to do it tomorrow, but maybe just give yourself this opportunity to pause and step back. And by saying this, I just took this pause, it will also give us the opportunity to just reflect and realize that we might have been just running around for nothing. Yes, there are reasons and moments in time that we have to do a certain thing and follow a certain way and keep in that schedule, like we talked with Arthur yesterday, where yes, we need a schedule. Yes, we need to have something that keeps a structure in our day. So it's not like, oh, I wake up whenever and I go to bed whenever, and then you don't get anything done. So yes, we do need a schedule. But what he also said was that the schedule is here to give us some idea, some structure, but we don't have to hold on to them. And what I also learned about today's conversation with Matt and Jeff is that we have to let movement happen. So when something comes in between our plans, not to get caught up with that. Like for instance, this morning, my son's going to school and somebody has to take him. So I've been taking him the last time because my husband was working in the city. So of course it was my task. So today I just assumed that I'm going to do the same thing. So in my head, I was planning on everything to get ready and get out at that time. When my husband comes down and says like, hey, I'm going to take Max, I'll be like, and so I had to like pause for a second and take a break and realize, okay, that's fine. You go ahead. It might be different for you. You might have been right away like, oh yeah, I'm so happy you brought this up. Or maybe you even brought it up the day before. For me, I had to take a pause and reflect on it, if you want to call it, or just take a break. And so I realized that we need those breaks. Even if it's just 5 seconds, 5 minutes, a few breaths, we need those breaks. And they can be so rejuvenating that we didn't even realize what a breath can do. And I haven't really spoken about a breath so much in this entire thing, but when I teach, and for those who have attended workshops with me, it's all about the breath. The breath is the one thing that connects us between the head and the body, the mind and the body. And so we usually miss out on that. So as you noticed, I've been talking this whole entire time, and I had to, in between, even if it was maybe 5 minutes into it, take a pause and reflect. And that's exactly what we need to do more of throughout the day. And that can help us do what Jeff and Matt are talking about. They're talking about do the things you love. What they're talking about is a little bit more of a bigger picture. I'm talking about a specific thing within a day. But if we are creating a safety, some place of nurturing within a day here and there, which is taking a few breaths or taking a break for yourself, read an article in a magazine or on your phone even, then that can give you some new ways of thinking, some new ways of doing things. And so it really is up to you how you create this. So I was in Switzerland this summer, and we had a gathering of a wedding, and there was one conversation about something not work, like somebody did something to somebody, and it was like, yeah, it's going to be your fault if the other person isn't happy with the outcome. And my answer was, no, it's our own decision. It's our choice how we perceive something. Just because I did something to you doesn't mean that it's my fault. And I think that happens a lot in our lives, that we're trying to pinpoint our fingers at other people to make us feel better. But if we are starting to take responsibilities for our own lives, because it's our life. So once our life is over and we have that last day where we can reflect back on our lives, nobody else is going to give us that day. It's just us. So I really realized the Matt and Jeff's input on today's conversation is helping us to understand that concept, that yes, we talked a lot about the nurturing of a community on the Holistic Healing Day. Also talked about this on the Day of Lifestyle. And we also talked about it in relationship to nature, to have this community. But that's just the basics of it. So what happened in the past 3 days is building this foundation of safety, of knowing where to go. And today is the beginning of figuring this out for yourself within the safety net of nature and community, people around you that support you. That's when you can step into a place of uncertainty, where you can step into places you just are afraid of. But being afraid and stepping into uncertainty shouldn't mean a problem. It should mean an option. It should mean to reflect and give you an idea of what else can I do. And actually, that makes me think of Lara Friedman Katz that we talked about, who is our dancer on this speaker panel. And when she was saying how she was dedicated to get into this company, into the dance company, and she worked hard to get into that. This is what we want to do, to have an image or a picture of who we want to be, and then whatever it takes, whatever work we need to do to get us there is what we have to do. So it's not necessarily an easy thing to do. It's not like these foundations are here to support us, as I said. What's even more relevant is to understand that we have needs and wants. We have things in our life that fulfill us. And when we are taken over by these daily tasks, by work, by household, by taking care of our children, then we forget that we also need time for ourselves to figure that out. It could be even within the household and the work stuff, because there might be something you really enjoy doing. And so my call to you today is just to look within, watch these 2 videos, see what they can give you and what information you can take away. I would love to hear from you what you have learned for yourself. And as I mentioned, through this entire summit, there is nothing that I can tell you to do to have a greatest outcome. It's for you to get vulnerable within yourself, with yourself, and acknowledge that we need uncomfortable things to become comfortable with, to really excel and find the truth calling that we need, and that makes us feel purposeful, that makes us feel loved. And what it needs is our self-care, our own love, like self-love, self-compassion, and it starts with us. The more we do it with ourselves, the more we can give it to others. So this is actually the end of today's introduction. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. We don't have a live guest today, And so we will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m., same place, same time. And then we'll talk about the last day of superpower, which is just the icing on the cake, to say the least. So go watch these videos, and I can't wait to hear your feedback. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.